you guys told me they're coming out with a V8 Jeep Wrangler.
Hemi.
She's got 4 on the floor, 8 on the hood.
But she does have 8 on the hood.
470 HPs.
And foot-pounds.
I'm going to have to look into one of those. Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about, the last video we did was about distortions. Good distortions versus bad distortions. Kind of a related topic is, well, you know, how do I know what to choose for gear that has good distortions versus bad distortions?
Kind of synergy.
Yeah, it's a synergy.
The age-old question.
Yeah, like, you know, what we're going to talk about, I guess, is synergy. Equipment synergy related to the system, really. It's not, you know, and again, it's confusing, I could see, because, you know, one guy commented, and he's right, where one of our regular commenters actually commented, and he says, like, you know, well, how do I know what am I synergizing with? The headphone? The amp? It's a good question, really. It's confusing.
Well, it's the whole system, really.
It's the whole system, but yeah, I guess really it's confusing as where to start, right?
Yeah.
And there is no start, really.
I mean, it helps if you heard a lot of gear.
Yeah.
Pick and choose what you liked and of different things.
Having the baseline is very helpful. And so it probably is a little bit complicated from our perspective because we see most of the gear at shows. So we kind of got a pretty good idea what the stuff sounds like, and it's pretty easy to extrapolate what's going to work well with other gear. But how do you write this down? How do you get this across to people? How do you get people to understand what they want to hear, what gear they need to put together to hear it?
Yeah, well,
That's troubling.
it's not like products come with a synergy number and you got to match
Right.
it.
Doesn't work like that.
That'd be
That would
cool.
be
That
great.
would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably need a number and a letter.
Microsoft tried that once with Windows.
Yeah?
Yeah, give your system a number and then see if you can run certain software.
A number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, it would essentially run benchmarks.
Yeah, they kind of gave up on
They
that. It was just
stopped
like a
doing it.
performance
Yeah.
number thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't really work out. But
Yeah. It wouldn't work here either because you're talking about balance, right?
yeah, it's more
balance.
trouble than that, though. It's not really necessarily like, well, how do you want it to sound? Buy gear that sounds like that. Because if you want like a warm, rich, lush sound, it doesn't mean you buy all warm gear, because maybe then it's too warm if you start stacking this on top of each other. And maybe you like the clinical sound. Maybe you like absolute reference, no distortion type sound. And that doesn't necessarily mean that your preference is going to be to get that all across the chain. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But a lot of times, synergy can be a real thing. You get a little bit too much of a good thing, and it can actually be a bad thing.
Yeah, and it is additive, like, you know, through the system chain. So, and that is an issue. You know, if you've got everything bright sounding or lean sounding, it doesn't do bass well, then the overall system tonality is going to be that way. There's no way around it. It doesn't matter what you do to it, you can't fix that. And vice versa. If everything's dark sounding or doesn't have a good top end, high end, there's no way to fix that. So it is a balancing act, so to speak. And I don't know. We know. So the first thing I would say is contact us. You know, I got A, what do you think about B? But we really only know related to our headphones.
Right.
I mean, we would know about other
Generally,
people's
yeah.
headphones too. We would know how the amps we sell work with other people's headphones because we know the tonality of other people's headphones, other companies' headphones.
Without the experience, though, it is really hard.
Yeah.
If you really don't know necessarily how this thing sounds, it's hard to guesstimate how it's going to interact with the rest of your system. I think experience in this case is probably the way to go. It's probably the thing that matters.
Yeah, well, clearly it's hard to try a lot of gear.
Yeah.
So I think the easiest way to start without actually trying anything is doing research. See what other people that have the same preferences as you,
Yeah.
and see what they're running. Because
Right.
usually those people all like the same thing. They end
Agreed.
up in the same place.
You see that a lot, actually.
yeah,
on
they're all
forums.
like, yeah, I like this too. Okay, so I'm going to
Yeah.
go with that. So
It's common, oddly enough, for people to arrive at similar setups, like a similar chain of gear
to
get the same kind of sound.
the same result. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a problem, I guess, if you did call like the electronics manufacturer, like the amp manufacturer, let's say, and say, oh, how would this amp work with my headphones? They're all going to pretty much say, oh, great,
Right.
terrific.
Of course.
You know,
They want to sell you
And
the
it
amp.
could- Yeah, sure. And I guess you could say the same thing with us with the headphones, but we're not like that. You know what I mean? We're going to tell you what works well with our headphones. You know, and again, like we distribute the 11 audio line, the XI audio stuff. We'd be able to tell you that if that works well if something works well with our headphones, it's probably going to work really well with most
Well,
headphones.
at least other planers for the most part.
Unless you're looking to adjust the sound.
Right.
You know, then, because we're not into tone controls, really. You know?
Well, you could add some tubes as a tone control.
Yeah, well, that's true. And there lies the harmonic structure of equipment and gear, which is something else we key in on here.
Yeah. That's top shelf
It's
stuff,
not
though.
just tonality.
That's really nuanced.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the fine details.
Well, I think when people hear it, they know, they get it,
Yeah.
but it usually takes time, you know?
Really, a lot of times that's the difference between really high-end gear and mid-range gear. It's the trivial little 0.1% type stuff, which on the surface, it might not seem significant. It might not seem like it matters that much. But when you start spending time with gear, that's the stuff you really find to appreciate. It really becomes quite obvious once you get a little bit of experience. These little nuances in the sound, it's really significant a lot of times. You really notice the benefits in higher end gear with the right playback chain.
Well, that's the thing, especially with tubes in particular. It seems like it's not like you're going to get a whole different amp. You need to like the amp first with the tubes,
Right.
and then you refine it from there. It seems like a lot of people, like I know with like WA33, a lot of people are like, oh, it's great with the stock tubes, but then they get aftermarket tubes and like, oh, it's even better.
Yeah.
So I think you need to like it.
You're trying to enhance you're trying to enhance the already existing.
Yeah, it's not
sound
going
of
to be
the amp.
revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean sometimes you could go the wrong way too. I
Well, it's
suppose
true. It is true.
You know,
Yeah.
but you're right though. The main amp has to be proper.
Yeah.
But you can make changes like these tubes we threw on down here. These are we bought these for our mic amps that we have for the ribbon mics we have and some other things. We got some tube mic amps, and we contacted our buddies over at Upscale Audio who sell all kinds of tubes and match them for you and like ship them overnight, ready to go. And we got some upgraded tubes for the mic amps, you know, and they describe in videos what each of these tubes sound like. Now they're all the same, whatever, 12AU7 or 12AUX, 12AU7X tubes or whatever the hell these are, but they all have a different tone to them, which is really cool if you're looking to fine tune something or not. But understanding that, having someone else tell you what this tube tends to do in situ is kind of cool, because then you kind of know where to go. And it might not work for you, but it's a gamble. It's always a gamble when you're swapping tubes. But hey, that's life's a gamble. It's tubes. You can always get more tubes. So anyway, we're just playing around with just mic amp tubes, and it's according to DMS, it made a difference, and we haven't quite quantified it totally yet, but maybe we'll get another couple set of tubes and triangulate on where we want to be relative to what the mics sound like.
Right.
The distortion characteristics of the microphone, how the tube enhances the positive aspects of that distortion, right? Through our mic amplifier to the recording, then back through the playback chain, through our headphones, to our ears. That's the whole sum of what we're looking at to pick a tube. Just pick a tube. And that's what you got to do in a system when you're playing a bed. You've got to look at the entire system and consider what you can change in it and work with that.
I guess it goes same playback for recording, because like you're recording different things, so you want a different sound and stuff, just like playing different types of music. So it's the same thing on both ends, really. You're tuning it for the recording side,
Sure.
for what you're recording,
Yeah.
and the playback side.
Yeah.
Differently, though.
Or if you're just listening to recording, what kind of recordings you like listening to?
Yeah.
But if you're looking for an overall sound, like a general sound where everything sounds great, good luck. I mean, good luck, but you can get there. But that requires a lot. Everything needs to be refined, well refined. And you got to make good choices, and you're usually going to spend some bucks to get to that point.
Yeah, nobody does it on the first try, it seems.
Don't likely. Not unless you copy somebody else's system.
Well, that's right.
Who's already figured it all out,
Yeah.
and spent probably $50,000 doing it.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, you're probably there. I mean, with a really good, some of the top shelf DACs are, you're looking at $4 or $5,000, more like $10,000 to $15,000 just for the source.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah.
just to get to the point where we're saying, okay, this is pretty good. And not that you can't do better.
Right.
But it's pretty good.
You almost could always do better.
Yeah.
But unfortunately with this, it kind of seems like it's a bit of a case of a guess and check type situation. You can make pretty educated decisions to arrive you there faster and increase the likelihood of success. But a lot of times, to know exactly what you want to hear and what gear is going to bring you there is really difficult. You could find someone that you trust with experience to help you along the way, but getting it perfect every time probably isn't going to happen.
No.
So hearing gear, talking to people with experience, that seems to be a pretty high priority, I would say, in this case, to try to find the right synergies.
Well, the best case scenario is you can narrow it down.
Yeah, you get close.
You narrow
Yeah,
it
you're in the
down.
right ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfection is in the eye of the beholder anyway.
Well, that's the real thing.
Yeah.
Is once it sounds good to you, you could like stop looking,
Right.
and just like, all right, I don't
Ignore
care.
it.
I know
Right.
this can get better, but I like how it sounds,
Yeah,
and you
sure.
can stop. or you could stay on that merry-go-round and keep trying
Yeah,
stuff out.
Sure. Yeah,
So just up to you.
Kick back for a year and just enjoy what you have.
Or that,
too,
yeah.
you know?
Take a year off,
Yeah.
not looking at anything
I
new.
tell people that a lot. I mean, I've seen people that are in a big hurry, you know, and they're rocking through stuff. And it's cool that they're listening to our recommendations because they're rocking through good stuff.
Yeah.
But then they want better. And I've seen people spend a lot of money in the first 6 months or so, you know, and that's cool. I got no problem with that. I ain't telling them they shouldn't. But at some point, they should just chill out, relax, and just enjoy what you got and just get a better feel for it. You know, because you're going to start spending a lot of money over and over again and wind up back full circle is what will happen.
Well, yeah.
You know, to where you started from going, oh, shit, I already had that a year ago.
Well, some people are like that with cars, you know. They do a lot of research, and they're like, this is the car I want. They get it. And then they're like, all right, then they don't even look into cars anymore. They have it, what they wanted, and then, you know. But other people, they're always looking for the new car. You know,
Yeah, right.
They get a new car every year. It's
Yeah,
like,
right. And again,
so,
there's nothing wrong
same
with
kind
that.
of thing.
That's what makes the world go around.
Yeah.
But you know, and it's great. It's great they could afford that. But for some people, they can only make the right decision once.
That's right.
Or the wrong decision once. No, wait, they can't afford to make the wrong decision, right? They can only make the right decision
I
once.
mean, nobody wants to
Yeah.
buy stuff you don't like, you don't
No.
need, you don't want.
No.
But
You want to get close.
It really comes down to it's what you like, though.
Yeah.
So,
And you got to learn. Sometimes you got to learn what you like.
Yeah.
A lot of people at the beginning, they don't know that, and you know we get that. so.
Actually, I would say most people really don't know entirely what they're looking for. They think they know, but really hearing it is a different story a lot of times. You may think you want one particular type of sound, and then you get it, and it really isn't what you expected, or how people on the forums talked about it. Turns out that isn't what you like. That isn't what you value in a sound. So, unfortunately, it's hard to know with these kinds of things because it isn't really an absolute, right? It's all about your personal preferences and your perspective on the sound. So a lot of times you could get it wrong, even when you're putting your
Sure.
best effort forward.
We see that a lot on in the forums too, which things come in waves. You know,
Yeah.
what's the latest and greatest?
bandwagons.
Yeah, all kinds of people jump on it and
It's
buy
like,
it.
Some people
And-
like it, some
and-
people don't like
yeah,
it.
You
right.
see that a lot.
Yeah, you know, and you gotta temper anything that's new with experience. You gotta wait and see what people really think about it. You know,
That's
and-
true. That's actually pretty
Yeah.
good guidance. So look, if
Yeah.
you see something that's new that people are saying is the greatest,
Yeah,
put all those expectations down a few notches because a lot of times they're going to fade away in
pretty
the
much.
first few months.
I mean, unless the company's got a reputation,
Right.
I mean, they've been around the block, and you know they have a known track record of everything they do is stellar. Then okay, you got a good shot at it. But
Yeah.
you know, still, you should. You always temper the heat there.
Yeah,
with-
watch out for those hype trains.
yeah, they're all the time. You
They
know,
come and
it's-
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
then
year
you-
later, nobody remembers.
Then the used market gets flooded with it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you may move on to the next thing. So
That's the
yeah.
biggest thing. So you got to
Yeah.
consider these things as well. If
Yeah.
everybody's buying something and you're the type of person that doesn't want to get it wrong, it's really important to you that you get the right gear out of the gate. A lot of times if you buy into the hype train, the resale value of these items is a lot lower than it could be for other things because there's so many of them out there and there's so
Yeah,
many
right.
people looking to switch around. They just wanted to try it. They got excited by the hype. And now they're looking to try something else because there's a bunch of people like that. They're always willing to buy new stuff, try
Sure.
new stuff.
And that's cool.
And
you know,
then
that's great.
the used market drops the value down. So you got to be a little bit leery of these things. If people are all jumping on board on something,
well, someone's got to be
stand back
first.
for a minute.
That's
There's
right.
always someone that's got to be first.
Yeah, and you got to expect,
You
on a new product that is the risk you take.
Yeah.
It's a new product. It
Yeah.
might not
Yeah,
be
so-
all the hype it
Yeah, and
says
if,
it will be.
and if that isn't a large sum of money for you, there is no risk
Yeah, like
involved.
no big deal.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, buy away. but yeah, I would if you're on the border of spending that kind of dough, then you might want to sit back and wait a little bit and just watch and see how
Right.
how it all falls out. But yeah, no, I mean it's tricky, it's tough. So I mean, basically, I think the beginning question was, well, how what do I pick first? Type the headphone, the amplifier, the DAC, what component?
So we talked about this a little bit before, but it seems to be the play that an industry would more or less guide you on is find the headphone that you think is going to be suited to you, that you like best. That seems to be the number one most important
Yep.
thing in your sound. And then pretty much as you get further away from the headphone, it matters less and less.
Agreed.
So the amplifier is probably your number two. You need an amplifier that could drive the headphone well. That's very important. Everybody will tell you that. It needs to have the right ability to drive this headphone. It needs to be able to output the right levels.
Yep.
And then from there, whatever you want to play back, it still matters, but not nearly as much as the headphone, not nearly as much as the amplifier. So if you're going to be playing digital audio, you need a DAC. or something like that, or whatever other form of audio
Sure.
you're going to be playing. You could get some sort of whiz-bang jukebox audio streamy thing. You get a CD player, a vinyl record turntable thing, whatever you want to do, really. But
Or all of the above.
all the
Could use
above.
all, yeah.
Trying
but-
different sources is kind of fun.
That
actually.
kind of throws a
It can be.
whole wrench into the works, though.
Yeah, it does make things a little more difficult.
Yeah.
It gets a lot more complicated. So
Yeah,
definitely find the headphone.
Finding sources you like once you tweak a system is
Yeah, that's a never-ending journey. It
Yeah.
seems. I've seen a lot of people that are just like constantly looking for the next best thing.
yeah.
Never ends.
But yeah, it definitely I think starts with the headphone. I'd agree with that for sure. And because if that's messed, if that doesn't give you the resolution you're actually looking for,
Yeah.
or if its tonality is way off from where you want to go, you're just working around a problem. It's not, you're adding problems to solve a problem that you started with, and it's not the way you create a good system. Creating a stellar system is choosing gear that's really good, that's really neutral, that's very has great resolving power, and that shows you what the source sounds like. And it's not that it's bright, not that it's forward, which a lot of stuff pretends to be neutral, right? They call it neutral, but it's in your face neutral.
That's actually a fair point, though,
Mhm.
because if you consider the entire sphere of your system, if you start out with a neutral output device, your headphone is more or less neutral, we'll call it. You have a lot more room to tailor the sound up
Sure.
and down, right? Whereas if you start out something that has a lot of bass, now you need to find something that pushes the bass way down if you want to get closer to neutral. And you really can't go up from there, right? It would get overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a lot of overcorrecting.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like that with anything. You get a bright headphone. Well, maybe you could find gear that brings it down to where you want it to be, but is that the right start? I think starting neutral for most people is probably the better bet. If you have nothing, a neutral headphone or nearly neutral seems to be the better option for most people because you could tailor the sound up and down from there. And oddly enough, different gear could have pretty considerable differences in sound. It could be really obvious sometimes. Other times it isn't.
At our level, neutral is us. I mean, it's tough. It really is. I mean, think about how many you could count at this price level, at this tier of.
There's a lot of people
You
that
can
consider
count on
themselves
one
neutral.
hand what's available,
Yeah.
really,
On the high end, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all pretty good. I mean, they're all fairly good, and I think you could work around any of them with the
For sure.
electronics.
In the high end, definitely.
In the high end,
Yeah.
in this range.
Yeah.
But below that, it's a mixed bag. It goes either way,
Well.
and there are some gems out there, but none of them really can approach the capabilities of the upper tier stuff.
Right.
You know?
As it should be.
Yeah, right, which is the way it should be. Yeah, that's why you get the big bucks for stuff. So anyway, like I said, in the end, if you're confused about what mates with our stuff, for sure, contact us, email us, call us. It's a simple question with a simple answer. We might ask you a few more questions to figure out where you're trying to go with this.
There's a little bit of back and forth on that one, yeah.
But in the end, you'll wind up with something that's going to be proper right up front, and then you can tweak it from there. At least we'll get you started. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and please subscribe to us because we got more goodies coming. We're doing a lot more live music now. In fact, I hear we got someone coming in
Tomorrow?
to play Beethoven, I believe. Yeah, in the piano.
Mhm.
So that'll probably be next Wednesday's video. We're doing more and more live music here, and building up our recording chain. We're adding a recording studio section to our video studio.
It's over there.
Video mastering, audio mastering, recording.
Yep.
Oh, this room's getting busy.
Yeah.
Anyway, take care, everyone. Thank you.